Good afternoon, beautiful people. It has been a crazy past couple of days. I have missed you guys. So thank you all for being here. Okay, so if you thought Letitia James' troubles were fading, think again. Two explosive reports from whitecollarfraud.com, both backed by real documents, show how the New York Times and Lawfare actually proved how guilty Letitia James was while trying to save her. Not to mention that she is harboring her fugitive niece. Sheesh. But in this video, we are unpacking how the media's defense of Letitia James backfired and why the so-called legal experts may have just dug her a deeper hole. Welcome to Nelly Miranda. So here's the setup. On October 9th, 2025, Letitia James was federally indicted for bank fraud and false statements to a financial institution. The charges center around a small house at 3121 Peroni Avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, a property that is now famous for exposing the double standard inside our justice system.
Tonight, New York Attorney General Letitia James indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia for bank fraud and making false statements to a financial institution. Prosecutors allege James falsely claimed a Virginia home as her second residence to secure better loan terms in 2020.
As always, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Okay, so forensic accountant Sam Antar, the one name that the left-wing media never want to mention when they talk about Letitia James' alleged mortgage fraud, because if they did, their whole narrative would collapse. The one claiming that this was just another Trump-driven witch hunt against political enemies. But anyways, he dug into her financial disclosures, and what he found was mathematically impossible.
So is this political? Because you just heard Chuck Schumer talk. This is all political witch hunt. This is a weaponization of the Justice Department. Are you part of the Trump administration? Because you're the first one who actually put this all together.
First of all, I don't give a damn about Trump. I couldn't care less if it's political or not political. That's not my game. My game is forensic accounting. My game is showing proof, and that's what I've done. Every single allegation that I've made regarding her is backed up by documents, and that's why they indicted her. Now, they indicted her on only one property so far, which is her Peroni Avenue property in Norfolk, Virginia. She has two other properties where she's committed serial mortgage fraud, a pattern of mortgage fraud. The other one is also in Norfolk, Virginia. It's on Sterling Street. And the third property is in Brooklyn. She's committed mortgage fraud over a period of 43 years, 13 mortgages containing false information. She put her signatures on the documents, and those documents are easily publicly sourced, which I did.
On her official New York State forms, James claimed that property was worth between $100,000 and $150,000. Yet, she also reported mortgages between $250,000 and $400,000. That is a loan-to-value ratio of up to 400%. Now, why would the bank issue a loan as such? It does not make any sense. When Antar ordered the title report, he discovered something worse. Her disclosed mortgages weren't even recorded. But there was one mortgage she didn't disclose, which was a 2020 loan from OVM Financial for $109,600. And attached to that mortgage, a second home rider signed by Letitia James herself, stating that she occupied the home as a personal residence and wouldn't rent it out. That's sworn under penalty of perjury. So it is her second home and she will not rent it out. Yet, on her IRS Schedule E tax returns, she listed the same house as a rental property. Rents received, 0 personal use days.
Okay, let me explain. She has what's known as a Schedule E. You file when you have rental property. On the Schedule E, it says that she had 0 personal days in the property and she gave it a fair market rental. That was the evidence that implicated her, because a Schedule E basically says that I violated the mortgage terms. I misrepresented the mortgage because I was supposed to use it as a secondary home, not a rental.
But on her insurance application, it was described as owner occupied, and on her New York State disclosure as an investment property. That is 4 different legal designations for one address. A bank says second home. Insurance says owner occupied. The IRS says rental, and the state says investment. Which one is it? Because at least 3 of those are false. Now, here's where the New York Times stepped in and accidentally made it worse, or purposely tried to confuse readers. Just 2 days after the indictment, the Times published a sympathetic piece titled, "In the Eye of a Political Storm, a Tiny Yellow House in Norfolk, Virginia." They tried to humanize James, focusing on family, quoting a great niece who said that she lived there rent-free. We have to read a little bit of it because it's funny. It reads, 5 years ago, the door of a modest yellow house on a quiet stretch of avenue in Norfolk, Virginia, swung open to admit a young family looking for a peaceful life after years of turbulence in several cities. The family, Nakia Thompson and her children, have lived at the address ever since. According to 2 people familiar with the home, and until this week, the plan for a more placid existence had largely gone as expected. Several times a year, the people said a great aunt who had purchased the house in 2020 with Miss Thompson in mind would come for an extended stay. This week, with the filing of court papers some 200 miles north, the plan came to an abrupt end. The great aunt, Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, was indicted by President Trump's Justice Department. The Yellow House, with its gabled roof and tidy lawn, was revealed to be at the heart of the case that Mr. Trump's chosen prosecutor brought against Miss James, one of the president's most prominent adversaries. This sounded more like a story that we would read to our children for bedtime stories versus the news. It's nonsense. On a quiet street, tucked away behind a big blue tree, stood a small yellow house made of straw. It belonged to 3 little innocent piggies. Along came a big bad wolf named Mr. Trump, who huffed and puffed and blew their little house down. And now the 3 little piggies has nowhere to stay after years and years of bumpy rides in different towns. I cannot take this article seriously at all. So that's where the trap closes. If that is true, if someone lived there rent-free, as the article states, then James lied on her tax returns, claiming that she received rent. And if she didn't receive rent, but still filed that way, that's tax fraud. If she did receive rent, then the second home writer is a lie to the bank. Either way, one of those sworn statements is criminally false.
According to the indictments, prosecutors say James lied on her mortgage paperwork, claiming she would use the home as a secondary residence, but instead made it a rental property. Prosecutors say this was done to get, quote, favorable loan terms to bypass investment property protocol and save her close to $19,000.
The government here is not making allegations about someone's ability to rent out or not to rent out their property. The allegation here is what was stated in order to obtain this particular type of loan.
13 News Now went to the house, but the Attorney General was not there. While city records show the house is owned by a Letitia James, neighbors say it's actually a family who lives there, and they've never seen Letitia James on their street. The Attorney General says she will fight these charges and will come to Norfolk for her first court appearance on October 24th.
The Times skipped the part of the indictment, Paragraph 9, that literally spells out the insurance misrepresentation. They edited out the most damaging paragraph and pretended the whole thing was just confusing paperwork. You cannot spin a math equation. Either the numbers add up or they don't. 1 + 1 is not 3 because it's convenient for you. The truth is not confusing. But every time we dig into Letitia James' paperwork or listen to what she calls the truth, it turns into another unsolvable trap. No matter how you flip it, it is clear that she lied multiple times along the way. Now, let's move on to the article coming from Lawfare, the liberal legal blog that often plays cleanup for Democrats in trouble. Lawfare rushed to print claiming James' indictment was dangerously weak, but instead of addressing the documents, they attacked the person exposing them. They mocked Sam Antar as a convicted felon turned fraud expert, as if understanding fraud somehow disqualifies him from spotting it. That's the classic Beltway tactic: discredit the messenger when you cannot disprove the message. They even sneered that Antar was trawling through public records, like checking sworn financial disclosures it's some kind of unethical fishing expedition. Are you kidding me? That's literally what journalists are supposed to do. Did they expect him to publish all of this with zero proof on the basis of, trust me, bro, she's a fraudster? This is nonsense. Here's the real tale. Lawfare completely ignores paragraphs 9 and 10 of the indictment, the heart of the case, where the insurance and tax statements directly contradict each other. Instead, they focus on procedural fluff and call the case ambiguous. You can almost hear the spin doctors whispering, just call it confusing. People tune out when it sounds complicated. Hell, most people don't even read past the headlines. But this isn't complicated. It's math and sworn documents. This is not political. 4 versions of the same truth can't all be true. So which one is it? Even some law professors joined in. One at Georgetown suggested maybe the second home writer didn't strictly bar renting. Sure, but that doesn't explain why her IRS forms and insurance filings contradict each other. And notice something else. When federal prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia first looked at this case, they reportedly hesitated to indict. The FBI had already verified the disclosures, yet local prosecutors punted. It wasn't until interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, a Trump appointee, took over that the charges moved forward. Cue the outrage from the left. It's political retaliation. But hold on. These are Letitia James' own documents. Political motives don't erase facts. If a Republican AG had signed contradictory sworn forms like these, MSNBC would be doing countdowns to indictment day. So Lawfare's piece doesn't actually refute the fraud, it reframes it. They call it weak, not because it lacks documents, but because they hope the public wouldn't read them. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. This is the same attorney general who built her career accusing Donald Trump of inflating property values and misrepresenting his finances. She literally stood on camera and said there cannot be different rules for different people and that no one is above the law.
America is an uncharted territory. We are angrier and more deeply divided than we've ever been at any point in our history since the Civil War. And at the eye of the storm is Donald Trump, ripping families apart, threatening women's most basic rights, and running for Attorney General because I will never be afraid to challenge this illegitimate president when our fundamental rights are at stake. My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
No one is above the law, yet here she is, caught in a 4-way classification fraud where every version of the story cancels out one another. When the New York Times and Lawfare go out of their way to contextualize those contradictions, it's not journalism, it's crisis management. Remember when the Times left out the Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020? It's the same pattern. Protect the team, downplay the documents, and count on the public to move on. But this time, the numbers do not lie. If James is innocent, she should welcome a full release of all of her mortgage files, insurance applications, and tax returns. Transparency clears innocence faster than spin ever will. And if she is guilty, then the justice system must prove that it applies to everybody, even the Democrats in power. Because here's the truth. Most Americans aren't lawyers, but they understand hypocrisy. They see a pattern where the people who scream the loudest about accountability somehow never faces it themselves. The White Collar Fraud series isn't just about Letitia James. It is a mirror for our institutions. The press has abandoned neutrality. A lot of politicians lie through their teeth, and legal commentators have become partisans in robes. And our country is paying the price for that trust gap. Just look at Chuck Schumer. To me, he is lying through his teeth about the Letitia indictment.
This is what tyranny looks like. Donald Trump has turned the Justice Department into his personal attack dog to go after his political enemies. This is tyranny. This is outrageous. Every American should be horrified, absolutely horrified about what has happened.
So where does this leave us? The evidence against Letitia James isn't a mystery. It's written in ink, signed in duplicate, and filed under penalty of perjury. The media can edit paragraphs and shift the narrative, but they cannot erase the documents. And the irony in trying to defend her, the New York Times and Lawfare have essentially proved her fraud. They admitted the conflict, then called it confusing. That is not a defense. That is a confession with better lighting. If Letitia James truly believes in one standard of justice for all, then she should welcome a fair trial and full disclosure. Because right now, the only people protecting her are those who profit from pretending that she's untouchable. Do you think the media can ever be trusted to cover Democrats honestly again? Or has that ship sailed? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if honest commentary brings you value, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. And please be sure to head over to whitecollarfraud.com to read Sam Antar's article in its entirety. He also links the New York Times article and Lawfare's article. Read them for yourself. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time.